attention of the class for 1 second.
Hey there, welcome back to Clash with Barndo. I've just had to do a little bit of a short additional video at the start of this particular video. It's a strategy breakdown going to be based on the healer transfer. So planning a queen walk that may be a charge, and then if the queen shit hits the fan, having some kind of transfer option, being able to move those healers from your queen and get absolutely maximum value from where you can in the raid. So I've got a Town Hall level 9, 10 and 11 variation, and I hope you guys really enjoy. Righto, so here we have a Town Hall 9 variation of this. This is going to be a 1 Rage Queen walk. She's going to walk. We'll put a map out on the base. The plan of the attack was to have the Queen start up the top here and have her walking down and around here and going as far as she could get. Enemy Queen needs to be taken out, so you're going to use minions at the start to herd these few buildings. Maybe the Queen might want to shoot that mortar, but she will then trigger and go clockwise, which is what you want. The big problem with this base is that this was actually a re-hit base, so it was known where traps were, giant bombs, Teslas. Clan Castle was a free draw. I'll explain that and show that as well within the raid plan. Now, the Teslas, there was 2 Teslas down on each of these corners, 2 Teslas, and then there were bombs in between there and there and there and there. So we knew where all the bombs were, we knew where all the Teslas were, but quite an awkward, sticky raid. The intention was to have the Queen walk around, use CC healers. They're meaty, they give you that extra HPS, they get you through places that other things won't get you through. So you can see here, free draw Clan Castle, that was a, I believe, Witch, Valk, Baby Dragon, and Jimmy Bob, Enemy King, he is actually going to be drawable. So you can see there, nothing really getting in range there. So it's a bit of a raid that I've planned out before, I've done before. Eiffels come through here in a MLCW match, Goons versus Woot Woot. It was a bit of an ACA matchup, week 9 it possibly is, somewhere like that. So I'm trying to build these up to be able to release them in the one video. You can see down the bottom now, going to a poison and just a simple barbarian draw. You can see the enemy queens up the top there starting to get a bit interested. And again, just keeping those barbarians flowing out to kill that CC off. So you see max poison, barbarians walked that CC straight into that, no faffing about. Unfortunately, this queen up top here, she didn't turn down too quickly. And you can see now the barbarian is coming down, not really getting the enemy king's attention too much. Queen up the top there takes a lot of damage, bang, pops the ability and comes around. Now you can see, part of the planning of this raid was there was an internal archer tower, an external archer tower, and then an internal expo. So you knew there was going to be 2 defences shooting you for quite a long time. Add into the fact that there's going to be 2 Teslas coming up between here, and then you've got a blower then pushing your healers out, causing more and more drama. So you've got to make sure that you use that rage in a spot where you're going to be getting it, and there was needed. Probably could have used a wizard on that camp on the right-hand side. Jimmy Bob goes down on the left-hand side there. That was probably a little bit early on the stink with the hogs. Should have waited for Jimmy to get in there, knock out those Teslas, and eliminate that giant bomb from the equation. That was the plan initially. Went a little bit off track there. So you can see the 2 healers going, 2 heals going fairly early. Extra skeleton spell coming out. And you can see the Queen, she is really struggling on the right-hand side here. But this is one of the reasons that the heals were put out. And you can see with the healer transfers that you know these healers here, they're all going to be flying onto these hogs here. There's 1 heal left on the base, on the attack. So there's no need to heal these hogs that are shooting that expo. You want to be healing the hogs that are coming down the bottom. Excuse me, you want to be healing those hogs that are coming down the bottom and taking on 5 cannons, plus then the possible splash from the mortar. So those healers go across there, and you can see the immediate effect. There's 4 healers at that stage. They're going to go down to traps and air defense fire, but even if there's only 1 or 2, you can see they do that massive effect. Jimmy Bob's down the bottom tanking the cannons. You can see now those hogs, they kept going and they went through and that was a big 3-star. So you can see that's the healer transfer. That's having a plan where the queen walks around her side, and you know that at some stage those hogs are going to be coming within range of the healers if they transfer over where that queen fell down. Okay, so this is going to be one of the videos I'm going to be using for the healer exchange. What we're looking at here is we're looking at an engineered account in one of the farm wars we did at Aussiatics. I'm going to be trying to get a variety of replays and show them where they're planned when possible. So it's going to be at different levels and all that kind of things, but engineered, we get these in pretty much every farm war all day long, people with the engineered accounts, until Supercell fix them. Use them to train, you use them to learn your things and all these kinds of details. Now, what I'm going to be showing here is it was a Queen Walk bowler. Sorry, not bowler, mass miner. So King's going to be used. Old Jimmy Bob's going to be used off on the side. So Jimmy's going to be used up over here. And his intention is to get rid of some of the raw hit points that are along these sides here and allow your miners to funnel into the base. So that's pretty simple. You want your miners to go through there and track around and effectively go in there. This was a re-hit. This base actually did eat 2 Town Hall 10 attacks, and with the big massive defences and the hit points and all those kinds of things, they shell out some damage. So your Queen Walk is going to go start here, and she's going to walk along. That's the intention of the raid, and she's going to get healed. Now the problem the Queen has is unless you use 1 or 2 rages, she's going to fall down, because you're going to be having sections where she's going to have 2 to 3 point defenses on her, even if you were to use the max healers. So when your queen gets stuck around this section here, she's going to be taking 1, 2, 3 defenses, and when she gets sitting around here, she's going to be taking up to 1, 2, 3 defenses, along with a possibility of a 4th there, and even the enemy king coming down and giving her a slap and tickle and saying, how you going? So you need to work out what you're going to be doing with that. And the idea of this raid was to have the queen walk up that direction. Let's see if we can get the pictures going again. So have the queen go up that direction and have her get there, have the enemy king come over, and if she didn't have the ability at that stage, the enemy king would kill her, and then hopefully her healers were going to swap into midfield. Now, these are the kinds of raids that you can't plan very often, but when they do work, it looks awesome. And when you do plan for it to work, it is awesome. And it's one of those things that you can say, oh, we've got lots of raids that we see them, and we'll get straight into it now. You can see it was a CC draw. There was a hound, wizard, archer in the clan castle, so the hound doesn't matter with miners, of course. You just let it track onto there, and that's another benefit of having the queen actually die and plan to die, is that the hound's going to do nothing to miners. And if you get a couple of heals onto the miners, then that's beautiful. Now, this raid varied slightly with the baby dragon pathing, therefore a second one was used. 20 unit space is quite heavy. But we needed to use that second one there, Vicent, to get that going. So the queen is walking, she's going up. Jimmy Bob comes on the side. He's got a few wizards to help him push through those DPS. And you can see out come the miners. The miners weren't spread very well. The queen now is very low health, and she's going to be walking into that second, those defences. So the ability's used very, very early on that case. So unless a rage is thrown down with her, she's definitely going to die. So that's where the decision's made. What do we do with this raid? Do we use the rage in midfield? And that's where we've gone ahead to get those miners through, get them and speed them up and get them into that enemy queen. And you can see the miners going through, the skeleton spells put down on the queen, and you can see now, we'll just get a pause. No, that's not going to work. So you can see now the 2 skeleton spells are in midfield knocking out those queen. You've still got these healers, and they're wanting to transfer over. The skeletons are actually drawing them, but they're obviously going to die. And you can see where that air defense is. Those healers are going to be getting hit by the Expo, the Archer Tower, but no solid air defenses and no splash. So they're only going to be knocking out a couple, but you're going to get some good cover from those healers. They're actually going to come in and play quite a large pole, and you can see now those miners are getting healed. We're out of heal spells. There's no more heal spells. Used all 4 getting through, but those healers are both tanking the air defenses and healing up those miners to good value. And you can see they've just gone through. The splash doesn't matter. There's still 1 healer left now. There's miners everywhere. The damage is going through. Nothing's going to be tapping onto that hound. The raid finishes with all the storages, but there's a shitload of miners left. Maybe if the rage had been used on the Queen Walk, she might have stayed alive and she would have come in. But that's one good example there of transferring the healers from a Queen Walk into your core, either miners, bowlers, or hogs through midfield. Okay, so what we're going to see here is a Town Hall 11 versus 11 Queen Walk with a healer transfer onto your hogs. So this is the 11 versus 11. You can see this is a fairly common troll base, but it was a good example to be able to show it on the base. This was a fresh hit, 3-star 11 versus 11, done in one of our special event wars organised by one of the clans hoping to join into the ACA and put this together. It was awesome fun, 30 versus 30. We'll get straight into it, and then I'll pause and I'll just show the basis of where we were looking at going. So with the Queen Walk, we'll get the little pen out. We're going to have old Queensie walk to get all of these buildings and then walk into here, eliminate the Expo, and then hopefully eliminate the enemy Queen, and then stay around up top. You want your Queen to stay around in this section here. You don't want her to walk down the bottom. So what will happen there eventually is that she's going to walk into the other Inferno. She's not going to have anything left over in the bag, and she's going to die. That's not necessarily what the full plan was at the start. The plan was to keep her up the top there, but you see 2 Rage, 1 Freeze, hoping to keep that Queen alive. But because you've got all 4 of your air defences down the bottom here, you break that air archer tower, and then you just basically put your hogs through there in a line, and they just push forward in the line. And you can see, we'll get rid of that as well, you can see the enemy king, very easy access. So if you put old Jimmy Bob down the bottom here, he just goes straight into him and there. So you'll see a few things in effect on this. I was pretty happy with the raid. Anytime you get a fresh hit, it's always good. So you can see a dummy loon drop down as a trigger loon. Fresh hit didn't know where it was, had to make sure we got rid of any traps, because if you lose any of your healers, that's going to be lights out. Now you can see a hog put down as backup for the wall breakers. That's it, plain and simple, backup for the wall breakers. The prep rage for the clan castle. And you can see now the baby dragon's tanking for the archer tower, and out go 3 loons. The air defense don't reach. The Expo will reach it, but only just there. So 3 loons is guaranteed to get that if there was 1 trigger loon. You could have got away with 2, but you've got to take that extra just in case. So you can see now that last loon's doing a little bit of damage, just helping the Queen speed along. Now this is the interesting part, and I'll sort of play this back to myself a few times. And if you had if I had chosen to freeze this Inferno here, those healers, all 4 there, would have kept the Queen alive through that cannon and backed her up to full health, leaving ability in the bag and 2 rages in the bag. So, 1 rage in the bag. In the end, have gone with a prep rage to make sure the Queen, I was holding on and hoping. You can see there's no second phase at that stage, so I was holding on hoping that I didn't need to pop the ability. But unfortunately, maybe if I had a rage a second or 2 earlier, then it would have been all out. Now, if I had a rage that second or 2 earlier, Queen would have had that extra damage. She would have killed the Inferno, and then that probably would have saved it. So on hindsight, a little bit earlier would have been good. So you see here, now this is one of the extra little tricks. I've put the Warden down to go with Jimmy. So that enemy king's going to get killed soon. Jimmy's going to rage up. He's going to be dying eventually anyway, because he's going to be taking 3 or 4 point defences. But then out come the hogs. The hogs are in pretty quick succession along with Jimmy, as long as he's got that, because he's tanking at that moment. He's being the golem for you as well as the offense, knocking that out. And you can see the Warden he trundles over to the hogs and says, not interested in Jimmy anymore, and he does that straight transfer, and you can just see it's absolutely awesome. Get into one heel, get into two heels. Now you can see with the pathing, there's no real bombs. They're normally trapped out in between here, this particular build. And you can see now, this was a bit of a silly move. That freeze, the intention was to try to withdraw some of that damage that was on that queen. It should have been on the Expo and Teslas, and in the end it probably should have just been avoided and not used it. It could have cost me the 3-star, but you're within a raid, you're a bit nervous and it's looking good. And you can see now, those healers, they don't know what they're doing. So this was a bit of good luck with what actually happened, where those healers, the wizards that were on the healers were going for, hit a giant bomb, died, and you can see now the effect of these healers afterwards. So if I had have actually planned this, I'd own up to it. Definitely it would have been an awesome plan, but you can see now those healers coming in, 3 of them left. Those hogs were at full health, so it's just a matter of making sure one wizard was put over on the side to get the DPS done, and then you've got enough DPS cleanup. So you can see Barbarian's still alive because the hogs were started in a good amount of time, and there was a couple of goblins as well just thrown out for the extra damage. But definitely a successful raid. Probably might have gotten there without the healers, but if I had have planned that, I could have kept the freeze and allowed those healers to transfer down and kept that freeze for the Inferno, or it could have been a swag in the end. But yeah, really good fun. Now what I'll show here was my second hit in this particular war. I'll show the planning to it. Where are we? But unfortunately I got a big 0-star, so I went from looking pretty awesome on the first hit to looking absolutely dog shit in the second one. It was quite funny. But with this raid here, I had actually made that plan to do the healer transfer. So what I wanted to do was to have my queen start around here. I wanted my queen to take out those buildings, take them out, and then push inside here, get all of that, and get all of that. Now what would happen is that Inferno would actually pick up the queen on the inside there, and she wouldn't have anything left to be able to get rid of it. Therefore she would die, but it was a three-phase fight in effect. I drew the enemy clan castle and killed the enemy king at the same time, started my queen walk and then hogging. So the hogs were basically to start here and push up into the base, CC hogs to go into that, to therefore eliminate that. But all the hogs would all trundle through the base and come up here and then go into there. Now you can see with the spell selection I've got 2 skeleton spells, 2 rage, 1 freeze. And what the idea was to do a freeze, a rage in midfield. And this is why I knew that the queen would be dead, because I wouldn't be able to do anything with that single Inferno. But the idea was to rage, skeleton spell in there, and then also freeze the Inferno. So the single Inferno would do bugger all. All of these things would be dead. They'd be dead. The queen, your queen, would be going through. So all that's going to be shooting those skeleton spells would be your expos, your cannons, and your expos. But if you timed it all out well, then you could actually have your hogs running up and then your SS going into your queen. Now after the raid, I'll start off and show you the intentions. This was an opened base. This is why I've planned such an intricate second hit, was because I knew a few things where some traps were. You can see now a couple giants to go in for Jimmy, a couple wizards to go with it, and then Jimmy down. Fairly early on the raid, you want to make sure you get your full 10 seconds when you're outside like that. Jimmy does take a lot of damage. So you can see now he's done successful. He's killed the king. He's gotten a couple of those defences. Don't know if he gets that last cannon down. Nah, doesn't get it down. Now what I really stuffed up with on this raid was I didn't take into factor the raw damage from 3 Valks, and also that poison. They actually run out of the poison effect with that poison. So you can see my queen on bugger all life. She dies, I lose her. I'll play the rest. You may as well have a bit of a laugh. It's good to show these mistakes as well as the success. What I would have done though, in hindsight of this, learning off the raid, I wouldn't have taken that poison. I would have just used my queen's ability and taken a third skeleton spell to get the kill effect on the enemy queen. I knew that I would most likely have to use my ability or a rage spell there anyway. And you can see I've lost my healers and just gone, what do I do? Just chuck everything down on the map and hope for a bit of luck. But obviously there's never going to be any luck in that kind of effect. So you can see the skellies down, the freeze down. Obviously 2 ground expos there. Now they wouldn't have done much if they wouldn't have done a whole lot if all my hogs were running through. So it was a reasonable plan. Obviously I was a bit stingy with my queen walk. Didn't want to use a spell, didn't want to use my ability, and it cost me the queen. So that's a wrap up of the strategy. I think there's an absolute huge amount of action you can use this at Town Hall 9, 10 and 11, and they can really plan out some intricate secondary uses. So sometimes it's not the exact desired effect, but you can plan, well, if my queen does die, can the healers transfer onto the hogs and save that 3-star? Hope you've enjoyed, and clash on.